Well, thank you everybody for being here. My name is Jan Pukallus. I'm representing Australian Citizens Party. It's a 34-year-old federal party. It used to be called Citizens Electoral Council. I've previously run 5 times before this time for the CEC. Now, this is the first campaign under the new name Australian Citizens Party. And I wasn't political when I had a young family. My husband and I, 37 years, I had 4 young children. When I learnt about Citizens Electoral Council, I wasn't political then. I thought, I'm doing a hard enough job as it is. We had one wage, but I couldn't ignore certain things that were going on in the 80s and early 90s, which got me political, and that was all the privatisation, deregulation. You had the amalgamation of councils, you had the amalgamations of schools. So they're shutting down schools. They're doing multi-million-dollar upgrades. I lived in Mackay. They did numerous multi-million-dollar upgrades of the Mackay Base Hospital, and my husband worked there, and we saw, internally what they were doing. It went from a 255-bed hospital to a 138-bed hospital. And so I got political over those 3 major things. Now, personally, I've been Australian judo champion twice, and I've represented Australia. I've represented Australia in canoeing, martial arts and underwater hockey. And I was a postie. So I wasn't political. However, when you start having a bit more freedom, when the kids are going to school, and you start to think of their future then, not just their immediate needs, because it's so hard to feed the little blighters, keep them full. Anyway, so the Citizens Party is a humanist party. We're anti-fascist, and we practice classical music and classical culture and art, like poetry and Shakespeare and Friedrich Schiller, for anyone who knows those. And I asked why. Why is all this fluffy kind of sissy stuff got to do with politics? And I was told at head office down in Melbourne that this is the reason we get political, because we've got to change the culture. If we want to make a better society, we've got to change ourselves in the process, not just get elected and then become good, And I thought I was already a good person, but I know that when the government is not taking on their responsibility to represent the people, then it does take, well, any of us could stand up. A soldier would put their life on the line. They don't intend to be killed, but they know that they may be killed in the course of their duty. A doctor, and when I lived in Mackay, I know of one experience where the doctor performing an operation collapsed because she hadn't had enough sleep. And frontline nurses and teachers even would stand in front of a terrorist bullet to protect their children. And every one of you, if you've had children, you know what I'm talking about. You would do it. Now, we've got to cultivate that commitment in our political stratas, and that requires statescraft, not a mere politician that's just after you vote. Someone who loves humanity and works in the interest of humanity, regardless of whether they get elected. And so that's why I say anyone can do it, because you've all got it. Put in the situation where your children or people you're responsible for needed your help, you would do it. Most people would anyway. So we need politicians to put their life on the line for their country. And if they get the sack, or if they get assassinated, well, 1 minute, my God. Anyway, so we've got to reverse the 28 years of economic growth that we've had, 28 years. We've got to reverse that globalisation, free trade. We've got, our main policy is for a postal bank. And we've got legislation for that. We've got legislation for a postal bank, which is the way the old Commonwealth Bank started. This will break the monopoly of the big 4 banks. They're full of derivatives gambling. That's what led to the global financial crisis. They didn't change their behaviour. Westpac just got a little slap on the wrist for stealing money off dead people, again, just this week. So we've got legislation for Glass-Steagall bank separation, an anti-bail-in bill because we've had bail-in where they steal your deposits. It's happened in Australia before when there was a housing bubble in Victoria in the 1890s. They stole people's deposits. They're prepared to do that again. And we've got legislation for this. So this isn't just a nice idea. We are in an existential crisis. If we don't change the banking system, we'll go into a Great Depression. And if we don't fix it, we'll get a dark age.